So welcome everyone. In today's demo, what we'd like to cover is the shipping process within the LDMS. We also have a set of slides to cover some of the finer points to discuss. And we also have Heather Springer from our lab division, chief of our lab division, who will be discussing our lab query system. I will start today here on our Frontier Science portal. Under the Reprieve tab, we have a few sections that we'll be discussing as we go through that slide set and within the LDMS as well. So we have our lab resources, and here you'll find the shipping documents that we will discuss. Under training materials, we do have a video that covers the shipping process that you refer to here. But as I said, we also have this recording as well. Over here to the bottom left, we have our query system, which Heather will be discussing. Our query system is the communication that we have between our lab data managers and our laboratories to reconcile any differences within the data that we capture. The other website I'd like to cover, our LDMS website, ldms.org. So we have our resources that are available to our laboratories that are placed here in our resources tab, such as our user manuals, and we have our project documentation and some training materials. Now the REPRIEVE-EU training materials are over on our portal, but we also have other resources that you can refer to here. But I really want to highlight the Contact Us page. So we provide 24/7 user support to all of our laboratories. So when you are working within the LDMS, if you have a question or you run into an issue, you want to contact our user support department and they can give you that advice and that help. And there's no limit to the amount of help that you can request. You can access them by phone, by email, or use this form. I'm a current user. And you can fill out the form with the issue that you have. Whenever you communicate with our user support department, always remember to include your laboratory ID. It really speeds up the process of communication. It would also be helpful if you include your CRAs and your lab data managers, and their emails are in the LPC, in the lab processing chart. That way we can all be in on the conversation and we can get you the help that you need as quickly as possible. I'll go ahead to the top using my LDMS login and log into the application, and we'll go through the shipping process. I'll do this at the beginning so you can refer to this video again and have it at the start so it's readily available. So I'm going to start on my stored samples page. And I'm going to move through my freezer. And here I see on my shelf 3, rack 1, I have 2 boxes that I would like to ship. Now I'm starting here because good and accurate storage really speeds up that shipping process. You want to send the boxes exactly as they're set up in your storage module. And you want to make sure that they are accurately stored. So every specimen is in the position that is recorded here in the LDMS. Part of the shipping process, you will verify the contents of the box against the manifest. And part of that is verifying the location of those specimens. So we have documents available within storage that can help you check and verify those boxes. And those are located in the edit button and our drop-down menu where it says container. This will give you a box map that will help verify the contents of the box. This box map is also available in the shipping module and is part of QC. So if you are shipping later on in September, we'll look at that shipping schedule. This is something that you can do now. You can verify the contents of those boxes, make an ice bath, get the box into the ice bath, and you can verify against the container report that's available in that edit menu. When you get to QC within shipping, it makes the process much more quick and smooth if you already have those spaces verified within the container. Our shipping module, the menu is split into 3 parts. We have our pending shipments. And this is where we create our shipping batch, and we also perform QA/QC. The shipment history page. Once we ship our specimens, a shipping file is generated, and that file is the mechanism of transferring the data from your LDMS to BRI, and then they will upload that file, and it will take all of that specimen information that you've inputted into your LDMS and place it into their LDMS. There is no automatic mechanism. That is a question we frequently get. We're all on web, so why can't the LDMS just, move the information for me? And the databases are independent on our servers. So BRI is on our LDMS server, you are on our LDMS server, but we keep the data separate. So it's independent and objective. And the way that we move the data between our laboratories is utilizing our shipping file. So we're going to start at the top under pending shipments, and we're going to build a shipping batch. Over to the left-hand side of the page, I'm going to drop down and I will click Create Shipment. And now we fill out the tabs within this pop-up and create our batch. Under the General tab, I'll set my shipment date. And you can set a forward or future shipment date. So if you already have looked at your shipping schedule and you know what week that you need to ship, go ahead and select that date. And you must ship on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday to ensure that it arrives within the week and not on a weekend. So I'm going to choose the 3rd week of September and Tuesday the 22nd. Again, just to show that we can choose a date in the future and we have that set shipping schedule, which we'll see in our PowerPoint. The format will be LDMS. BRI is an LDMS lab, and we must utilize the LDMS shipping file. And then select your temperature. Move to shipment destination. BRI has its own 3-digit lab code, just as you do, and it is located in your LPC. It is 999. Typing in those numbers, it will filter through the menu, and you can select the laboratory. The contact information will populate. Below, at the bottom, you need to select our contact person, John Ward. And then we move to the contact at sending lab, our 3rd tab here. You will see your lab ID at the top. Anyone that you have designated as a shipping contact will be present in this drop-down. You can also type within these fields. Go ahead and you can fill out the fields if your shipping contact is not present in the drop-down. Our 4th tab, shipment notes. You can place a comment at the top, and that will be present on the manifest. If you have the carrier and tracking number information already available, you can put that in at this time. And then our last tab, the shipment contents. Here's where we will select those containers to place onto our batch. At the bottom here, we have our storage containers. We are shipping our storage items, so that's where we'll work. And over to the right, click Add New. You have access to your entire LDMS freezer, so move through the freezer. And select your containers. Now you want to make sure that you are checking the boxes. So I have my 2 boxes I want to ship, and that is what I'm selecting over here to the right. Now these are the only boxes on the rack. So if I were to select the rack, it would select the containers I want to ship, but it also will ship the rack and remove it from our storage tree. Any storage item that you ship will be placed onto the batch, and then upon shipping will then be removed from your storage tree. If you put the rack onto that batch, then you'll have to add the rack back in and replace it to make your freezer complete again. So you want to select each individual container using their checkboxes to the right. In the top right-hand corner, I'm going to select Add Selected to Shipment. Click that button, and then it will list the containers here in the grid. At the bottom center, I'm going to click the Save button. So it's made an entry in my pending shipment window. Over to the left, we start with our shipment number. The LDMS will issue a serial number to every shipment that you make or receive. And so this number is unique to your laboratory. So when you tell Bride that you're shipping, batch 4, make sure that you also include your lab ID so they know what to look for. So every batch is unique to the LDMS lab. Our shipping file format is LDMS. Destination lab is 999. Our shipment temperature, the date we set up the batch, and our intended ship date. The last step we see here, or the last field we see, is QA/QC, and it is not performed. We have our Edit Ship button. Now this button will take you back to that 5-tab menu. If you need to make any changes to the batch, you can do so and click Save at the bottom. And in the drop-down, here's where we can get our shipment container report. That is the box map that you can use to verify the contents. And we also can access our QA/QC menu. So the QA/QC process, the verification of the contents of the shipment against the manifest. So you're verifying that the specimen is located within the box and the position of that specimen. So I'll click QA/QC. At the top center here, you can toggle between the different containers on your shipment. And now we see the boxes that I've chosen, they're not quite full. That's because I want to save some time during this demonstration. The first position in the container will be highlighted in blue. You'll see the position and the expected global specimen ID. The information that we see here is taken directly from the manifest. This is the manifest information that's in our right-hand column. Your initials should be in the performed by box and the current date, the date that you're performing a QA/QC. Now, the REPRIEVE labels on the specimens do not have barcodes. So you're going to have to visually verify the global specimen ID on the cryovial against the global specimen ID you see on the screen. Now you are verifying the complete global specimen ID, the whole string. The global specimen ID is unique to every specimen. So it is constructed with your lab ID, a serial number, and then an aliquot sequence number. So you want to verify each part of that global specimen ID against the label. And if it is the same, then you will pass the specimen. Replace the cryovial into that position and remove the cryovial from this position. Verify the global specimen ID against the one on the screen and pass. You continue using this process and you verify each one of the specimens. Now, while you are doing this, this box is in an ice bath. You want to, a dry ice bath. You want to maintain that chain of cold. You do not want to risk the viability of these samples. You don't want them to thaw. Now, this process does take a while as you are manually verifying each one of the specimens against the screen. But you don't want to take any shortcuts. If you need to take a break, which you will, as I said, you are verifying each one of these cryovials. What you can do at the bottom of our menu, if you click Save, the LDMS will save your work. You can return the box to the freezer, take your lunch break, maybe you're signing out for the day. It will say in progress here on our screen, and then you return to the QA/QC menu, take that box out of the freezer into the dry ice bath, select the specimen that has a question mark, and then you continue on, pulling each cryovial out and verifying the full global specimen ID against the information on the screen. Move to any other container, and you continue the process. In the dry ice bath, maintaining the temperature of the specimens and verifying against the menu here. Always click Save to save your work. And once each specimen on that batch has been checked, then the QA/QC status will say complete. Then we proceed to the next step in our shipment. We're going to create our LDMS shipping file, and we are also going to create our shipment paperwork. Now, this is the LDMS paperwork. There are further documents that you need on the portal, and we will discuss that during our PowerPoint. Continuing in the Edit Ship button, give that a click. The 5-tab menu will appear. At the bottom of that menu, we have our Save button. And then to the right of that button is the Ship button. This is what you will use when you are ready to create that shipping file. Now, in the LDMS, that process will finalize the data, will mark that specimen as unavailable at your lab, will mark it as shipped, will take the boxes from your freezer and remove them. So you want to use this shipping process once everything is completed and ready to be finalized. So click Ship, confirm that I want to ship by clicking OK. It will gather that specimen information into the LDMS shipping file. And I see that I have a file simply named 4, which is my shipping batch number, my shipment number, ready to be saved. So I will click Save. Sometimes they'll have a Save As option, but always click Save to save it exactly as it's downloaded. Here where it says Open, The LDMS shipping file is proprietary and encrypted. It can only be read by another LDMS. So do not try to open the file in Word or Excel. There is no data inside the LDMS shipping file that you can use or even access. And if you try to open it, you do risk corrupting that file. So you want to download and save exactly as the LDMS creates it. So we're going to review our downloads folder here in a second, but we have other files that we need to create. In my pop-up, I see that shipment 4 has been downloaded, so I'll click OK. And then now I can close this window. Upon closing the window, the pending shipment screen will refresh, and then we will move to our shipment history. Now, this is the record of everything that we have shipped from our laboratory, and we see that here we have all of our batch numbers, including batch number 4 or shipment number 4. As we move to the right, we see some of the same information from the pending window, except our shipment has been sent. That means that we have created that shipping file. We use the LDMS shipping file format. Our destination lab was 999. We are the sending lab, so I see my lab ID here. As we move all the way over, we see our view button and the view drop-down. In the view drop-down, we are going to create our manifest. All of our reports generate as PDFs. I will save that PDF. I'll close my report window. Returning to the view drop-down, the shipment container report, I will click that. Also generate that as a PDF and save. Once that has been saved, I will close that report window. In the view dropdown, if we go to the very bottom, we see we can re-download the shipping file. If you need another copy of that shipping file, it is available to you here. By clicking that, it will recreate the LDMS file for you. So that is it for the process within the LDMS. Since we were using our boxes directly from storage, good and accurate storage really speeds up this process because QC speeds up, because you know everything that you check in those positions is correct, and so it means that you can sign off on QC a lot faster than if you're trying to rearrange the specimens to match what's on the screen. So we have our 3 steps: create a batch, QC the batch, create the shipping file and paperwork. Now, where does that shipping file and paperwork go? Since I'm working in my internet browser, it goes wherever the browser designates the downloads to be saved. On my computer, it goes into the downloads folder. And if I go to the downloads folder, I see my LDMS shipping file, and it is not linked to any Windows program. So it simply has a blank file here and it has the name of the shipment number. I happen to have 2, which is why I have the parentheses there. But we see another shipping file in my downloads here, and that's what you will see. It will simply be a blank file with the shipment number. And I also have my shipment manifest and my box report as PDF files. We have our manifest, and box report. And in the box report, each container has its own page. So now we're going to move on the LDMS, and I have a PowerPoint to share. This PowerPoint slide deck has been sent to the laboratories as well, so you can review on your own. So for shipping specimens, you're going to ship to the repository by your assigned schedule, and it's located in the lab resources folder on the Frontier Science portal. And that's the first website that I shared with you this morning. All the sites ship in September, and you want to review the shipments of specimens to BRI prior to shipping. You see down here our bullet point, all of the resources that we talked about are on our Frontier Science portal. Here is the site shipping schedule. We start by week. Over here, you have your lab ID, and then the week within September that you are shipping. And remember, within that week, you ship Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday to ensure a weekday delivery to BRI. First, we're going to discuss preparing for shipment. So read and review the shipment of specimens to BRI. Then make sure you have all of your required supplies. If you look down at our checklist there, make sure that your specimens are accurately recorded in LDMS in your storage module. Get your STP-320 shipper, your absorbent strips, and your pressure vessel. And those are the supplies provided by World Courier. Check your shipping schedule on the Frontier Science portal. Ship on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. BRI is closed on the weekends. That's why we want to make sure that it arrives on a weekday. And if you're unable to ship during your designated week, you must make other arrangements with BRI. And we have the BRI contact email here. Let's start at the top left here. We have our supplies from World Courier. And then we have our labeled freezer boxes. So we have our shipment number, our destination lab 999, and the sending lab information. You see that written in marker on the box tops here. In the bottom right-hand corner, the QA/QC of shipments, there we see that dry ice bath with the box nested in there to maintain that chain of cold, maintain the viability of the samples, maintain their temperature. We finished in our LDMS by generating our LDMS manifest and documents. Just as a quick reminder, the QA/QC of specimens, verifying the contents of the box. We're utilizing that global specimen ID, the whole global specimen ID, and using those pass-fail buttons at the bottom to move through the container. Within the shipment history page, those are the deliverables to BRI. We have our paperwork, our manifest, shipping container report, and the ability to re-download the shipping file. Do not click Save As with that shipping file, or do not try to modify it in any way. It gets downloaded from the LDMS and sent as is. And here in this little screen cap, we see that picture from our downloads folder. We have our batch file. We have our 2 PDF documents. Picking back up with the QA/QC, we have our box that has been checked, all the contents. Then we take that container, wrap it with the absorbent strip, place the freezer box and with the strip into your Tyvek bag, into your leak-proof bag, and then the Tyvek envelope. Now, on the envelope, you'll place the LDMS batch number or shipment number, your lab number, and BRI, as well as the shipping date. And we see that with the arrows here. Then you take that Tyvek envelope and pack into your shipper. Our last image here, we see dry ice. So we have some dry ice on the bottom. Then we have our box in place in the Tyvek envelope, surrounded by dry ice, and then more dry ice on top. Now, there's our inner box. And once you place it, so that's what is sitting on dry ice and surrounded by dry ice. Envelope is there. Close the box and place more dry ice on top. You do want to allow this inner box to cool down. So once you place it into the dry ice, give it a few minutes to come to the same temperature, and then you continue on. Now at the top of the styrofoam container, this is where you have your LDMS manifest and the LDMS generated box map. Then you have your IATA labels on the edge of the shipper, your dry ice warning, as well as your address labels over here at the top. So you have the physical shipment ready to go, and you're almost ready to ship. But you need to follow these next steps. Review the instructions for overnight shipments, complete the ambient refrigerated frozen specimen shipment notice, and the international shipment checklist. And all of the forms are on the lab resources tab in our portal. So here we have our instructions for overnight shipments. Go through the checklist here. Here's the specimen shipment notice form. In our red box here, your contact at BRI is John Ward. We saw that when we set our destination in LDMS. And here's the contact information as well. That information is present in your lab processing chart. And we have our international shipment checklist. That's the last document that we referred to. So move through each one of these steps. And once all three of those checklists are in place, the forms and checklists, you will notify BRI of the incoming shipment. Include a copy of the shipment notice and the international shipment checklist. You want to email your shipping file, your LDMS shipping file, to BRI as well. So that is submitted electronically to BRI. They do not take physical discs anymore. After shipment, BRI will receive the shipment and they perform their own QC. And it is 100%. Just as you QC the outgoing shipment, they will bring in that shipping file and they will perform QA/QC within the LDMS, specimen by specimen, just as you did. They will then fill out this evaluation. And this is what we're hoping for. If no problems are noted, then your responsibilities are done. But if a problem was noted, they will then contact Alba and Maria, and they'll work with the lab and the site to get a response to BRI within 1 week. So we'll have to reconcile that shipment and fix any errors. Here are some tips on avoiding common mistakes. So you want to double check that you've included the LDMS shipping file in the email notification to BRI. It should be downloaded and sent as is. No modifications, no changes. Do not use Save As in your browser, because when you use Save As, Windows tries to match that file up with some kind of extension. As we saw in the downloads folder, it's not matched to any Windows program. It's meant for an LDMS. So we had an issue during the last shipping season where the LDMS file came across with .txt, a Windows text file, and when it was sent to BRI, it was not the file that they were expecting. Even though it really was an LDMS shipping file, it looked like a text file, like you'd get in Notepad. So we had to work and figure out why was this happening, and we had to remove that .txt extension. So you want to make sure that you use Save, not Save As, because if you Save As, it's going to try to link it up with some type of Windows program, and then it's not usable. Check your vial location. Your cryovial location in the physical box must perfectly match the manifest. That's the QA/QC process. That's all it is. It's verifying the location of that vial against the manifest, and it's done electronically on that screen. Make sure there are no missing vials and no extra vials. there's my note again that accurate and correct storage leads to quick and easy QA/QC. Part of QA/QC, checking that global specimen ID, full global specimen ID, including the ending of 001, 002. So you want to check that whole number, and you want to make sure that each label is clearly printed and legible, and use that shipping checklist. So we went through those checklists and forms that you need to fill out. So you want to hit every step on that checklist. Here we have some common issues that are noted by BRI with shipments. So they have their own codes, and we see at the top here, 207, an incomplete shipping notification or missing file. So you want to fill out that form, that shipment notification form. You want to include the shipping file, and it has to be in the format that they're expecting. So it just is blank, and it just has the shipment number as the file name. We have code for improper packaging. Make sure you're using all of those materials that we discussed. We have a label manifest mismatch or a date discrepancy. So you are labeling and dating the boxes, you're labeling and dating the Tyvek envelope, and you have the labels and the dates on the manifest. So you want them all to be, aligned. We have identifier mismatch, so we have the wrong specimen was sent, which is solved by accurate QA/QC, or no specimen was sent, which means that the specimen is on the shipping batch but not included in the box. And then we have other labeling problems or missing codes, code 606 here at the bottom. Now we're joined today by Heather Springer, our Chief of the Laboratory Division here at Frontier Science, to discuss our lab query. So the lab query system that we have is a way to communicate with our labs to help solve our data discrepancies between the CRFs and the laboratory data entered into the LDMS.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks everyone for joining. Good afternoon. Go ahead, next slide. So just a quick overview of the laboratory query process that laboratory data managers will follow, and some resources for you. Queries are formal questions about your LDMS inventory data. And so sometimes these questions are verifying some of the identifiers in your LDMS data, or the disposition of the specimens. Do they exist, or have they been shipped? So queries are issued through our query system. It's a portal-based, web-based system on the Frontier Science portal that Drew showed you earlier. And when your laboratory receives a query, an email notification is also sent to alert you that a query has been issued. And so in order to access these queries, the lab users do need to register for DMC portal accounts. And you can do that at www.frontierscience.org/register. This is separate from your LDMS account. In order to get access to the DMC query system, you need to register for access to the Frontier Science portal, and that is a different account. And when you're doing this registration, please do provide your LDMS lab number and specifically specify that you're requesting access to the query system. And then if you would like to view your laboratory's contacts and which ones are designated as query contacts according to our database and our systems, you can do that at any time on the Frontier Science portal by clicking on the Submit Contact Changes button and link. So common lab queries. These are some of the common things, issues, and discrepancies and questions that we have about LDMS specimen inventory. And the first one is very common, are time and date discrepancies. So what we're doing is we're comparing your LDMS inventory to the case report form, specifically the specimen collection form. So we have a form that is keyed by the site letting us know that the study participant has come in for a visit and they've collected some specimens. And we're looking at that date and that time of those collections, and we're comparing that to what has been logged into your LDMS. And if we find discrepancies that we need to resolve, we'll be sending a query there. The second item here is unexpected specimen types, volumes, or visit codes. So the lab processing chart is very important because it does describe very thoroughly all the different types of specimens, the volumes that should be stored, and the visit codes that should be used when logging into LDMS. Um, Also, as you're logging in specimens into LDMS, if you're using those templates in LDMS for in-specimen management, they will assist you with ensuring that you are following the lab processing chart and the study expectations for the different specimen type, volumes, and visit codes. Missing or oh, just a couple more points on that one, Drew. Thank you. So missing or unexpected inventory. If we don't find inventory at all, or if we find some unexpected extra specimens, we'll be sending a query just to clarify what has happened. And if there are specimens that are not shipped, we'll sometimes send queries to clarify perhaps these were specimens that didn't exist, or perhaps they were just missed in the shipment and they need to be included in the following shipment. We'll sometimes need to get some clarification when there appears to be overdue shipments in LDMS. Next slide. So what should you do when you receive a query from the Data Management Center? As I mentioned, you will get that notification to let you know that the query has been issued. You're going to want to visit the query system pretty regularly to get used to checking in on those pending queries, seeing what's there, and sending some responses. We are expecting that responses are given to issues within 2 weeks. So please do, as you get those email notifications, spend some time investigating the issue and make sure to go in and respond within 2 weeks. And our recommendation for responding to queries in terms of an adequate query response would include some details about the investigation and the steps that were taken to look into the issue and what was concluded. What corrective actions were taken to address the issue? Did you make a data correction in LDMS, or did the site make a change to the case report form? And then if you make changes for shipped specimens, it's very helpful if you confirm in your query reply that you have also communicated those data corrections to the repository. We like to try to issue queries and resolve discrepancies before specimens are shipped, but sometimes they're discovered after, and we would want to make sure that any data corrections made to LDMS are also made at the repository, because as Drew mentioned, they have their own separate LDMS database, and those data corrections are not automatically cascaded to their database. Next slide. So how can you prevent laboratory data queries? QA/QC monitoring and a QA/QC plan at your laboratory is very important. So using those quick add templates to log in your specimens to meet the study expectations is a great way to start off. And you want to always make sure you're following that lab processing chart. When it comes to data corrections, making sure you're communicating those not only with your site, but with any downstream laboratories that you've shipped to. Making sure that you're documenting your missing aliquots or your short volumes with the appropriate condition codes in LDMS and comments. This helps a lot. So if you're using that quick add template and it says that you should have, I'm going to make up a number here, 5 aliquots of plasma for a given participant visit, and yet perhaps you were only able to process 4. Maybe your volume is a bit short. Making sure you're taking that 5th aliquot that was generated in the preload and marking it with appropriate condition codes and comments, and to ensure that it's shown as not being available and documented as to the reason why is very helpful. That would be a great way to avoid missing aliquot or low volume queries. Establishing your LDMS data and issue resolutions, SOPs, is very critical. So make sure you have a process and then write it down about how you're going to review your data on a regular basis and how you're going to work with the issues that pop up, as well as how you're going to deal with the queries that come from the Data Management Center and resolve those as well. And then lastly, if you do notice you have a recurring issue, maybe you've received a query from the Data Management Center several times and it's the same kind of query, or perhaps you yourself have discovered through your own QC issues that have been recurring or specifically high risk issues, take some time to look into what caused that error. How can I correct it? And how can I prevent it moving forward? And have that corrective and preventative action process, be part of your SOP so that you're ensuring high quality data. High quality laboratory data is critical to high quality laboratory specimen data is critical for high quality laboratory data. All the data you're putting in LDMS for these stored specimens is what's used downstream when we send these samples to our testing laboratories, and it ends up in the clinical database as part of the study database. And so it's very important for the inventory data to be as accurate as possible. Next slide. And so here's just a few resources that we showed as we were going through this presentation, how to get to the Frontier Science portal and to the LDMS website, and some email addresses of who to contact. And we're happy to take any questions. You guys are a quiet bunch.
Right, so I have unmuted our users, or you have the option of unmuting yourself if you wish to have any questions answered, anything that you'd like to discuss. All right. Well, thank you, Heather. Thank you, Emma, Jack, and Kelly for having us today. We'll go ahead and we will close out this meeting, and I'll gather the video together and I'll post that to everyone.
Thanks so much, Drew.
Awesome. Thank you, Emma. Take care, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, wear your mask.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Heather.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.